Hey, Justin Dyson Apiaries. I was out in one of my bee yards yesterday, and I saw one of my hives getting robbed. And I get a lot of questions about, is this robbing, is that robbing, and you get a picture or a video, or somebody tries to describe it, what's going on. And sometimes it's just bees playing out, and sometimes it actually is robbing. I just wanted to kind of show you a quick video of what that actually looks like when there's some significant robbing going on. Stick right with us, like, share, subscribe. Be right with you. Alright, so I'm going to show you a couple clips of the video, and I'm going to kind of break in and talk a little bit. What happened here was I had extracted this. So if you notice, this hive configuration is a double deep. Well, the day before it was a single deep, and I've been extracting some of these deeps that I drew out and through the wildflower honey flow, spring honey flow, and so I put it back on. I put it on one of my colonies yesterday that I've been expanding up, and it was, it's wet, what we call wet supers, because it just come off of the extractor. And we put that on the hive, put it on late in the afternoon, and typically if you wait till just right at dark and put these back on, you don't have a lot of trouble. But this one, apparently the hive didn't get it quite cleaned up, or they were still pretty excited the next morning. And when we checked on this hive, this is what we saw. You see this hive going absolutely bananas, and there's some indicators here that show us that this is not bees from this hive, but this is bees from another hive. One of the first things to note is the bees that are coming out are loaded with honey. Their tails are dragging. It's not bees falling on the landing board heavy, it's bees going out heavy. Another thing to notice is all of the bees up on the sides and around the seams in between the boxes, like they're trying to get in. They can smell that honey in there, and they're trying to get in there. They're bundled up right around those seams. Another key thing too is, if you look really carefully, and I'll try to pick this clip out for you, you'll see wax falling out the door. And that's the destructive nature of robbing. The bees, when there's robbing going on, they don't care if they tear down the whole hive to get that honey, and they're really destructive with the wax. So you see wax, just balls of wax falling out the door. And that's one reason I try not to let my bees clean up my supers out in the yard. Instead, I'll stack them up after I've extracted them. Even if I stack them up 10 high on a beehive, because when the bees dry those supers down, they don't just tear the wax all to pieces. But sometimes you do have to stack them up depending on what the timelines are and what else you got going on. But yeah, so when you just stack one of these up and it's the bees inside of there, they're delicate with the wax, and they kind of rebuild the torn up spots and that kind of stuff, and reuse the wax cappings, the little bits that are all over the frame, and they'll reuse that to rebuild the cells. But when they're robbing, they just tear things off to pieces, and you see wax rolling out the door. One of the third indicators is there's some fighting at the door. If you look carefully, you'll see some bees that are they're kind of tussling around. This hive right here has been overtaken, and so they're beyond anything, but they're still trying to do a little fighting. But pretty much the bees have taken over, and the next step in the process is the robbers will try to kill the queen and kind of disrupt the colony organization of the hive. So just kind of watch a little bit through this video. The bees a lot of times will be aggressive in this case. If you walk up to the hive, a lot of times they'll go to stinging you. They're more aggressive in this particular situation when robbing's going on. You'll see a lot of bees flying around, and sometimes you can walk the row of bees that you have there and you'll see one that's working really hard, and you can tell the difference in working and robbing. Like I said, the bees are either coming in loaded or going out loaded. You'll have to study that a little bit and learn how that looks different. And one final thing, and I'm not showing it here in this video. I should have took a video of this too. But a lot of times you have robbing going on. If you take the lid off of that hive, the bees will fly everywhere. Whereas if it's a colony that's just playing out or something like that, you take the lid off and the bees kind of stay in place. But if you take that lid off and the hive just empties, that's all robber bees getting out of that hive because they've been disturbed and they don't know what's going on. But anyway, just a quick video. I hope it's helpful in kind of trying to diagnose when you actually see robbing or not. You know, the difference in this and playing out and the bees orienting and that kind of thing. You'll see bees coming out when they're orienting, and they come out rapidly, but they'll be doing like a spiral, and they get bigger and bigger and bigger, you know, and then they're falling back on that landing board. There's just some differences between that and robbing. Bees are more aggressive and dancing around at the entrance when they're robbing. It's just different, and you know, you can use this video to kind of see the actual robbing behavior that we're seeing. So what can we do if we find a hive in this situation? It's pretty challenging, actually. I mean, smoke really doesn't work. It'll just disrupt them for a few minutes, but it won't stop them. You can try to reduce the entrance down really small. Don't actually close the hive up. I mean, we're in July here, so it's hot, and if you close the hive up literally for 15 minutes, they could overheat, and so you don't want to do that. But you could put an entrance reducer in there, narrow it down to the smallest entrance. If they have holes in the boxes around, you can kind of tape those up real quick, close the top. If they're, you know, if you're using telescoping covers and you have that inner cover in there that has the slot, pull the lid back and close that hole up. You can try that, see if they get it under control. If that doesn't work, I know it sounds funny, but I mean, if you have a little hive in your backyard, you know, and it's a hive that's in your apiary that's doing the robbing, turn a water sprinkler on that hive. I mean, if they start thinking it's raining, maybe they'll slow down. But you know, you can pick that hive up and move it to another yard somewhere a mile down the road or something, and until things get under control. The main thing about robbing is it's really hard to stop once it started, because those bees will go back out the very next day, and they're going to hit that same place they found honey at the day before, first thing. So that robbing is just going to continue day after day until that hive is cleaned out. And once they've been disrupted like that, it's near over. So they can clean out a hive quickly. So the main thing is keep it from happening to start with. And when you get into the dearth, that's sometimes it's challenging. You can't be in a colony for a long period of time when you're checking them out, because there are always little scouts out there looking around. And if you ever notice when you're looking at a hive and you see that bee come in and kind of dancing, that's a scout robber bee. So when you start seeing that, you need to get those hives closed back up. It's about to get ugly. So when you're doing hive inspections, be quick and efficient. You know, you don't have to look at every single frame. Pull out a frame or two. You know, see that you see the things you need to see. Do they have enough honey? Do they have brood? Are they queen right? Do they have a big enough population of bees? You know, that kind of thing. Look quickly. You can usually see that in a couple frames, and you don't have to stay in there for a long period of time. If you're doing feeding, feed late in the afternoon, evening, you know, right before dark. Do not spill anything. If you spill any sugar water, wash it down. You get a bucket of water and wash it off the side of the hive or wherever you spilled it at. Don't leave any sugar water. Make sure the hives are strong enough to protect what they have. If you have, you know, weaker colonies with wide open entrances, maybe you need to stick an entrance reducer in there to try to keep that from getting started. Queen right colonies. A queenless colony is much more likely to be robbed than other colonies. Their colony structure is kind of broken down, and they don't protect herself as well, and once it gets started, it's wide open. So so strong colonies, being able to adequately cover what they have, queen right, don't spill feed. If you're feeding, feed far enough away from the bees so that they can navigate properly. Some people do the feeding like right in front of their hives, and I do not condone that. You may get by with it, but I believe that promotes robbing because of the basic nature of the way bees communicate nectar locations with their various dances, a circle dance versus the figure 8 dance. When they get in there really close, you know, like 100 feet, they have trouble telling exactly where that source is. They just say it's close. And when they say it's close, well, they're going to start knocking on doors of everything to try to find that nectar source. Whereas if you put it out there 100 yards away from your apiary, those bees can navigate the distance and the direction nearly perfect, and those bees will come out of that hive, go straight to that nectar source and gather that nectar and come back. So I like, if you're going to do some yard feeding, which I think is a good thing to help keep robbing from getting cranked up. If you give them something to do, you know, idle mind is the devil's workplace, right? So if we keep the girls busy, sometimes they won't get into trouble and start doing the robbing. But anyway, just a few tidbits. Try to keep robbing from getting started. So my boys have a message for you. They want to say 2 things.
Buzz that like button.
And sting that subscribe button.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, guys.